Well, hello, Jackie. I'm so happy you're joining us for the summit. Oh my gosh, you are one of my heroes in homeopathy, and I'm so blessed that we were classmates together, and now you're a dear friend. And
Yes.
tell us some of your education with homeopathy and how you got started.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that we were, involved in school together. So um, I went to the American Medical College of Homeopathy, like you did, in Arizona. And for me, I took the slow program. You took the fast program. So you complete in 3 years. I completed in 5 years because I did it part-time. But homeopathy has been my passion because I was introduced to homeopathy through my mother, and her sister had introduced her to a homeopath. She had a lot of joint problems. She was having a lot of stress in her life, and she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in her 40s, kind of mid 40s. And thank God my aunt had referred her to a homeopath because she's 89 now and she's highly mobile. And if she would have had rheumatoid arthritis all that time, she would probably be in a wheelchair right now. So, yeah, really, really thankful for the introduction to homeopathy from my aunt. And for me, I had a history of asthma as a child and eczema. And thank God my mother again got into homeopathy. She quit teaching at age 50 and went into a career in homeopathy and naturopathy by upgrading her Bachelor of Education to a Bachelor of Science. And then she was accepted to the University of Natural Medicine in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and did a 4-year course, and she graduated at 55. She had a 20-year practice and retired at 75.
Well,
And
see, it's never too late for any of us. We can get started right now, audience, and come join us on this journey that Jackie's going to share. I'm going to share my screen because I know that you've created an amazing PowerPoint, so let me share that with you. I think you have to share your screen. I'm sharing my screen. So let's see if we can do this again.
I'm sharing my screen. Just a minute. Is it coming up?
I think I have to make you as host. Okay, you're in. Now you can share your screen.
Okay, great.
Technology, yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah. And get my PowerPoint up there.
There you are.
Yeah, and I'll get that. There you go. So what we've decided to do today is create an easy guide to homeopathic solutions for home use, for common maladies at home. And again, my name is Jackie Marshall, Chef Schakowsky. I also am certified as a biofeedback specialist and certified classical homeopath. So homeopathic medicine is safe and effective, and homeopathy was founded by Samuel Hahnemann with a history of 200 years of efficacy. And I'm just moving this over here. Homeopathy, homeopathic medicine is complementary to working with other standard medical treatments. And this is a really important issue, I think, because doesn't have to be homeopathy or using standard medical treatments. You can use them in combination quite effectively to maybe reduce your exposure to drugs. You know, if you're sensitive to certain drugs, homeopathy can maybe complement what you're doing with your medical doctor. Homeopathic remedies are dilute nanosubstances from nature with a philosophy of do no harm and like cures like. This law of similars dates back thousands of years to ancient medical texts. This law at the foundation of homeopathy, expressed in the name given by Hahnemann of this new form of medicine, comes from the Greek homeo, meaning similar, and pathos, meaning suffering. So like cures like, similar, suffering. And I just made a notation here because when Hahnemann had founded homeopathy, he was using very dilute doses in his medicines. And at that time, there was no way that science could explain what was going on. Now, only now, hundreds of years later, is science coming to a point with starting to understand nanomedicine, that we can start to understand homeopathy. So we're just catching up to Hahnemann now, hundreds of years later. In a classical approach, this form of medicine works with our own vital force to reinforce the body's ability to heal itself by focusing on individual symptoms to match with a single remedy. And as we go through some of the remedies, we're going to differentiate between different remedies for different maladies so that you can come to matching the remedy to the symptoms. And it's going to come a bit more clear as we go on. I just want to move this forward. There we go. Why homeopathic medicine versus standard medicine? You know, it doesn't have to be, again, either or, but, you know, for certain situations, you can, you know, go it alone with homeopathy. But, you know, it's okay to combine the two. But we're going to talk about the differentiation between the two. So homeopathy is customized to the individual. That's matching symptoms. And for instance, if you have a headache and you go to a homeopath, they're going to say, is it, you know, a frontal headache? Is it occipital? Is it on the vertex? Is it throbbing? Is it stabbing? You know, what may have precipitated the headache? Was it something you ate? Was it stress? Was it lack of sleep? You know, is it chronic? Is it acute? You know, this type of thing. So very, very specific to the individual. Whereas allopathy, which is another name for standard medicine, standardized protocols. So they're more, whether it be maybe a severe headache or a chronic headache, you're going to get some just standard medicines. They're not going a lot into detail. They're just looking for pain relief, for instance. Homeopathy is derived mainly from nature, and allopathy or standard medicine is man-made chemicals. Homeopathy has a very holistic approach, looking at the whole person, sort of the mind-body connection, whereas allopathy, standard medicine, it's very specialized medicine. Practices that look at specific organs or systems, like a urologist or a dermatologist. Homeopathy is much less expensive on the whole. So there's, I'm quoting a study here. The study was done in 2009, found that first and second year expenses for respiratory diseases using homeopathy reduced the cost between 25 to 54%, depending on the respiratory condition. And that's significant cost reductions considering in this country the cost of healthcare. Allopathy, standard medicine, very costly. Here's a study. This study reports that COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. So it's a respiratory disease that's becoming more common, sadly. Alone, it says direct cost to the healthcare system for this one issue for upper respiratory is in the US in 2010, they tracked it as costing $29.5 billion with an average cost per COPD patient of $4,119 in 2000. So if you're looking at a 35 to 50% reduction in cost, that's an incredible savings potential. Again, homeopathy overall has an excellent track record of safety for the population, including for pregnant women, children, and animals. Allopathy is standard medicine. Medications typically have warnings on labels, possible side effects. Again, homeopathy, you typically have get a chance to learn a lot about yourself on your healing journey and how to make better lifestyle choices to maintain good health for you and your family. So not only you benefit, but your family can benefit from going to see a homeopath, because there's a lot of learning potential there, and they can take a lot of time with you. Typically, a medical doctor does not have much time to spend on education. And we've experienced, you know, we all know how busy medical doctors are. Homeopathy is a federally recognized form of medicine, and that's very important for people to know. Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act classifies homeopathic medicines as drugs since 1938. So homeopathy has been well inculcated in this country in the laws for many, many years. By law, Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia Convention of the United States sets standards for homeopathic medicine. So homeopathic medicines are regulated by this country for efficacy, labeling, safety, and manufacturing. Again, we all know that allopathic medicine is federally recognized and regulated by state boards. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, a regulatory agency with the Department of Health and Human Services, regulates the safety and effectiveness of drugs sold in the United States.
So I just wanted to add, Jackie, those are phenomenal statistics. Thank you so much for all the fabulous research, but also to let our audience know that both are necessary in our world, and one is not quote unquote better than the other, but both are important. And
yeah,
these statistics certainly showed some, let's say, opened up your eyes. And I love the whole approach, and that's why I got into homeopathy. And so thank you for sharing these great statistics.
Yeah, like I say, you know, you don't have to do one or the other. There can be very complementary to each other. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. As we go on, we're going to start getting into more details about specific homeopathic remedies for specific issues. So we're more focusing on first aid. And I'm going to be talking about practical first aid also, and when it's important to seek, you know, standardized medical attention. So we are going to be discussing that also in each of the slides. So here for cuts and abrasions, standard first aid, it's important to stop the bleeding, apply pressure. If bright or red blood, it may be coming from the artery. So if that's involved, call 911. clean area thoroughly, bandage. If it's a puncture wound, seek medical care within 24 hours. If cut on extremity, hold above the heart level to stop the bleeding. If infection, redness, swelling, fever, seek, a medical doctor's care. Okay, for minor injuries, we have 3 plant remedies here. One is arnica, the other ledum, and the other Hypericum perforatum. You're going to be able to differentiate a little bit, you'll see. With arnica, the wound has moderate to severe bruising, and bruising is a big keynote for arnica. Muscle pain, swelling, stiffness from the injury. Use following surgeries, very, very helpful for trauma and overall for surgeries, trauma, head trauma, shock or fright resulting from an injury. The next one, ledum, puncture wounds. So this is more for puncture wounds. There is some numbness in there and breathing, but one of the keynotes is puncture wounds and better cold compress. The next one is wound with shooting nerve pain. So Hypericum nerve pain is a keynote, big keynote. Or injury to parts rich in sentient nerves like fingers, toes, palms, soles, used following surgeries, shock or fright as a result of injury. So it's quite common after surgery, for instance, to use arnica and Hypericum alternating, possibly for the first day, every half hour alternating, maybe for 2 to 4 hours, and then subsequently day 2 through 7, just alternate them 2 to 4 times a day, and this can help a lot with pain, trauma of the surgery, help to speed healing, and so on. So it's very helpful.
What I love today, that's so good. Arnica is my go-to everywhere. I play a lot of pickleball, as you know, and I've shared it with a lot of my friends. But what I love now is the plastic surgeons are all recognizing Arnica montana because it cuts down on that bruising, the swelling, the bleeding, and you look a lot better much quicker. I think you have a cool Arnica story, don't you, Jackie?
Yes. Recently, I joined a hiking group, and we were going out. One of the ladies was going out for the first time, and over here in the desert, a lot of the paths are quite rocky, and there's a lot of loose gravel on them, and so on. And she was going down an incline, and she slipped and fell. It looked pretty innocuous, but then we looked closer, and her basically foot was hanging off her leg. She had broke her ankle, and it was a severe break, so much so that part of the bone eventually was sticking up through the skin. It was super severe. So for instance, it's really important to carry something like arnica with you in a pack sack or in your purse. You never know when you're going to come across something. And especially on the sports fields, like Jill was talking about, she was talking about the pickleball. Arnica was help this lady maybe reduce the swelling and bruising and pain so that you can get her to emergency care right away. And that's what we did. We had to carry her out and took her to emergency. And then, of course, she had to have surgery and so on. So arnica and, again, Hypericum would be helpful for her to recover from this terrible injury.
So my Hypericum story was kind of crazy. My son, we were at a health club, and he came out of the men's locker room, very young, and caught his toenail on the door.
Oh boy.
And it unfortunately took it off.
Ooh.
And I could not get him to stop crying. And I carry all of my remedies with me, you know, for acute care. Ran
Smart.
out to the car, got some hypericum because it's really effective for fingers and toes and things like that, and that nerve ending youch.
Yes.
And gave this to him. And 2 seconds later, he was like, "I'm fine, Mom." You know, and you're like, "Oh, thank gosh," you know, that was crazy. So these are just tools, because you really can't do anything about a toenail. No emergency is going to be able to help you, but this took the immediate pain away from him to be able to help him. And I think you said you have another Leadum story that you wanted to share.
Yes, Ledum is great for puncture wounds, for instance, and so mosquitoes. We were at a family gathering, and one of my cousins, her little 2-year-old, was running around, but these mosquitoes just loved her. She got covered from head to toe with mosquito bites, and she was getting very fussy. The mosquito bites were swelling up. It was not good. So we happened to have the Ledum with us, and we gave it to the little one, and within a very short time, she was running around happy, playing again. The effects of the mosquito bites were starting to abate. And the other thing about Ledum, which is kind of a side benefit, is that the mosquitoes, after taking the Ledum, were not as interested in her anymore. So
Very neat. Yeah. And I call these, again, we talk about this all the time, Jackie. I call these tool in my toolbox.
yes.
And be sure to always check with your doctor if, you give them the Ledum and it's not doing what you need, or you need to go to the emergency. Do both. I mean, even when I broke my wrist on the pickleball court, I took my arnica every 15 minutes on the way to emergency. So I did both, just so that, and he was like, "You're not even bruising, but you broke your wrist," and so that helped that to heal faster, but I still needed the cast,
Yeah.
so anyway, this is such good information. Keep going.
Yeah, this is fun, right? So we're talking about insect bites, yeah, as first aid. So just like Jill was referring to, sometimes these bites can be extremely serious. And so, if there are signs of allergic reaction or anaphylactic shock, you really have to move fast and make sure that you're accessing medical care ASAP. So there's a little bit of information there at the top, common sense approaches to insect bites for first aid. So signs of allergic reaction, again, anaphylactic shock, you move fast, get 911 or get to medical attention. But the nice thing about these remedies, though, is they can buy time. So if a person's moving toward anaphylactic shock, you can give the remedy and it can maybe help to abate the symptoms as you're getting them to, help, and can help buy time so that they don't hopefully get into a real severe reaction before you get help. And there's, I'll tell you another story about apis in a minute, but so apis comes from an insect, bee. And so just to read some of the details here, sting, so the sting is hot. The site of the sting is hot, red, stinging pain, and swollen, improved by cold application. So these are keynotes. Worse, heat and hot applications and touch pressure. It can be helpful for allergic shock, but you still need to get to medical care or emergency care, okay? So you can give the remedy. Throat passage could close. This is an anaphylactic reaction, tongue swollen. So in this instance, it clearly shows that Hahnemann's homeopathic principle is in action, because, think of a bee sting. all the swelling? Will you give like to like symptoms? So it's amazing. The remedy is made out of a bee sting or bee venom. So this homeopathic principle is shown in this remedy really clearly. That produce similar symptoms, in essence, cancel each other out. So it's pretty cool. Actually, there's I was on a event like this, you know, people were talking about their experiences, and one lady was talking about her child or a grandchild who has a real sensitivity to foods, and it would put the child in an anaphylactic reaction. So they were at a family event, and a family member didn't know that the child was susceptible to being exposed to this certain food, and they gave it to the child. They had an EpiPen on hand. The child was starting to exhibit these symptoms, and they ended up giving the child Apis and had the EpiPen ready to go. But right away, the child started responding, and in this particular case, they administered the Apis fast enough that they didn't need to use the EpiPen, but they had it there immediately ready to go if they needed to use it. So and then we can look at ledum again. We just talked about ledum, but ledum is also helpful for sting that is swollen, painful, bruised. So ledum has bruise in it. The area feels cold to the touch, whereas Apis, so this is where you start doing the differentiation. Apis is hot, and the area feels cold with ledum, cold to the touch, and feels better with cold applications. Wounds from sharp pointed instrument and insects, especially mosquitoes. So there we go, and we already talked about the mosquito story. So we can move on to the next one. First aid for childhood complaints. We're talking about a few remedies here that create differentiation. We're talking about like a heat stroke in this case, and also teething. So it's kind of interesting. The remedies are so diverse in their applications. You know, belladonna can be used for heat stroke and someone who's teething, you know, and same with glenoin here. Heat stroke, it's great for. Camellia is great for teething. So belladonna, you're going to differentiate here. We'll discuss it, differentiate belladonna versus glenoin for heat stroke, and belladonna for camellia for teething. Okay, so let's look at this. So belladonna comes from a plant for conditions with fever and sudden onset, violent symptoms such as pounding pulse, face flushed, dry, hot skin. These are all face flushed, dry, hot skin. These are keynotes. Worse jarring and movement, worse light, noise, pressure, worse lying on the right side. There's a lot of right-sided symptoms with belladonna, and worse at night. Helps with sudden onset of teething. So here you go with the teething. Hot flush face again with teething, and wide staring pupils. And belladonna, many years ago, they used belladonna drops in the eyes of women to make them look more beautiful because it made their pupils dilate. Well, here is where that symptom is showing up. And then with belladonna, restless, high fever, swollen gums. So this would be restless, high fever, swollen gums. There's the teething symptoms. Hot, dry mouth becomes, just one second. dry mouth, I'm losing my worst pressure on the gums and lying down. So, okay, now we're going to heat stroke. And it's important that you not only give the remedy, but do first aid and take, again, a person for emergency care if needed, okay? So if your child is confused, you know, being exposed to heat or heat stroke, sunstroke, if the child becomes confused, delirious, irrational, the sweating has stopped, so the body can't cool down now. Body temperature can soar up rapidly with pulse rapid and strong, not aware of their thirst, so they're not thirsty, they're not drinking, they're not cooling down, not aware of the heat, so they're becoming, you know, disorientated, could lose consciousness or have convulsions. Call 911, give them the remedy, buys time, and then get moving to help, okay? Now, where the belladonna and the glenoin are differentiated is that additionally there could be with glenoin throbbing, splitting headache, hot face, and sweaty skin. So belladonna is dry skin, and glenoin is sweaty skin and also has a throbbing, splitting headache. Also important to note is that when a person is in a state like this, remove them from, you know, the heat exposure, get them to a cool place, cool the skin down with cold, wet cloths or water, apply it also to the armpits, the back of the neck, the groin. This is areas where the body cools down, sweats a lot. Elevate the feet, give sips of water, start rehydrating them, or with sports drinks. Okay, and then now we're talking about camellia, more to do with differentiating between belladonna and camellia for teething. With camellia, the child has violent colic with angry crying. So very irritable camellia, the child will be very irritable, whereas the belladonna child won't be as irritable, but they might be very restless. Impossible to calm unless picked up. So the camellia child wants to be picked up, carried. So it might be fussy if you're putting the baby back into the crib or the child back into bed. Feels better with motion. So that's why they want to be picked up, carried around, you know, sort of rocked. And worse from heat, worse after burping, and worse at night from 9 p.m. onward. So they're sleepless with irritable, anger. So the cause could be teething. And then you see above for some additional symptoms. When teething, gums are inflamed and are sore to the touch, the child with camellia may have offensive diarrhea also. And that may be caused by the pain. So there's differentiation, you know, matching the symptoms is, again, key, the law of similars.
Jackie, this is so interesting. Thank you so much. I wanted to let you know that we're about 15 minutes outside of this interview. So if we could get, you know, as much as we can through it and then answer a couple questions at the end, that would be awesome because I love it all. You have just covered everything so beautifully. Thank you.
Okay, we've already talked about arnica. I'm just saying here basically that if you want first, you know, a broad first aid in a remedy, and if there's one remedy that you want to carry with you, carry arnica because it can cover a lot of things. It can cover cuts and abrasions, minor burns and scalds, insect bites, nosebleeds, eye injuries, sprains and strains. So there's a lot there that just arnica can do for you. So if you're gonna take one remedy with you, and they're very compact, very small, and they're easy to take. Their children will take them because they're just little sugar pellets. They're very easy to administer. And so very, very easy to carry in your purse, your pocket, whatever.
And just let the audience know that, you know, they can pick them up right at Sprouts or Whole Foods. You know, you can get them on Amazon, so they're readily available. And as I always tell my friends, don't leave my house without them.
Yeah, definitely. It's lifesaver. Like, it can really be literally life-saving. Colds and coughs and flus. Okay, so there are 3 remedies: antimonium tart, aconite, and gelsemium, the 3 at the bottom of the list. These might be helpful for the flu that's been going around lately. So something to look at, something to maybe have on hand in your tool pouch in your home kit. Okay, and pulsatilla, also Callium bichromicum. The Drosera, the number 3 on the list, is really good for deep, heavy, croupy coughs. Pulsatilla, the number 1, is more for bland, yellowy mucus that's coming out, lack of thirst. If you find sinus colds are really great with Callium bichromicum. Aconite is very good for sudden onset. So aconite is a great one to have. Sudden onset of anything. Just suddenly I started coughing or sneezing or whatever, you feel something coming on, take an aconite. That's the first step, and then sit back and see how it goes. Gelsemium, the last on the list, is very good for deep fatigue, very, very deep fatigue. Also, you might want to differentiate with the antimonium tart, which also has a lot of fatigue in it, and so on. Now here, I'm just gonna talk briefly about my other specialty. I'm a certified biofeedback specialist, and we've been through a lot of stress in the past year with shutdowns and maybe not being able to be near family, friends, whatever. So stress, fatigue, overwork can have a big effect on our whole physiology: mental, emotional, physical. So I just want everybody to take a pause right now. Where these videos, it's called Daily Calm. It's a 10-minute mindfulness meditation. And you can access this on YouTube. I like it because it's 10 minutes. It's very succinct. You can maybe download it on your phone or something and just take a time out for 10 minutes. And it can, doing these types of things can create balance within your day and put us in a state of regeneration, rejuvenation, which is very important for our overall health, mental, emotional. So I just want you to sit back, relax. This is only going to take maybe about 2 minutes, but it gives you a taste of what you can do, you know, a couple of times a day when you're really under stress. Okay, so just relax. I want you to get comfortable. Take a couple of deep breaths, couple of exhales. Just relax. Just take a couple more deep breaths. Stay relaxed. So that gives you a little taste of what you can do. Oh, I just lost. Sorry, it took us to the actual. All right, so that's what you can do. Take time out. You can even teach your children to take time out like this. Toxic stress, it's a profound effect on the mind and body. And what you're doing here with these relaxation techniques is you're tapping into the autonomic nervous system. We have two branches, as you can see in the picture, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic is stress, stress, stress. You know, we're running, we're eating, running, we're running here, there, lots of demands on us. You know, so we're always in that sympathetic sort of stress pattern, which is degenerative. And we have chronic problems with degeneration in North America. I mean, diabetes is degenerative, heart disease is degenerative, you know, cancer is degenerative. You know, there's such a range of degenerative diseases, arthritis, you know, digestive disorders, all kinds of things. So that's the sympathetic nervous system pattern. And what's happening is it's moving us into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest, digest. So it's restorative. So we need to start building balance on a daily basis, not just when we're going on holidays, because we rarely go on holidays. Okay, biofeedback is an underused modality. I have a link to the Mayo Clinic, and they talk about biofeedback appeals to people a variety of reasons. It's non-invasive. It might reduce or eliminate the need for medications like anxiety medications, even you know, medications for digestion, that kind of thing. It might enhance the benefits, also enhance the benefits of medications, and might help women who can't take medication during pregnancy, and it helps people feel more in control of their health. So the Mayo Clinic goes on to say biofeedback, sometimes called biofeedback training. So it retrains your body out of that sympathetic and moves it to the parasympathetic, helps you, you know, access that part of the nervous system, because a lot of people, they're so stressed out, they can't, you know, relax, they have to keep moving, you know, that kind of thing, can't sleep well. So so the training is used to help manage any physical or mental health issues, including anxiety, stress, asthma, you know, chronic pain, constipation, headaches, high blood pressure, and a range of other things. Raynaud's disease, which is a circulation disorder, that kind of thing, TMJ. So Just to summarize, homeopathy and biofeedback. So both approaches are gentle, safe, effective for pregnancy, all ages, for sensitive clients, for animals. They are natural approaches supporting the client in their ability to heal themselves, body and mind. Practitioners typically take time to develop customized programs, and that's the key, to support health and wellness for each of our clients. Time is taken to educate the client in lifestyle and techniques that support wellness in ways the whole family can benefit from. Please note also to be sure to work with certified professionals that have relationships with certification boards and monitors continuing education and professional conduct. So again, I'm a certified biofeedback therapist and certified in classical homeopathy. Here are some suggestions of reference books. These are some of the ones that Jill and I have put together. Jill has contributed to this, and she's found that these reference books are really good for her, and I have mine that I go to even to this day. It's important to, because the remedies can be so broad, as you saw, that you have to lots of times refer to these books to create those differentiations. And there's some contact information for me if you have any additional questions or need to email me. I'd be happy to answer additional questions that you might have.
Awesome. All right, if you'll give me back the screen, then we'll keep going with a couple questions if you don't mind. This was totally great.
Oh, also, disclaimer, Jill.
Yes, that's important.
We have to do the disclaimer. I hope you all found this information helpful, and but we also have to do a disclaimer, so I'll read it out. The disclaimer provides that the information in this presentation is merely information, not advice. If users need medical advice, they should contact a doctor or other appropriate medical professional. The disclaimer also provides that no warranties are given in relation to the information supplied in this presentation and talk, and that no liability will accrue to the organizers or presenters in the event that a user suffers loss as a result of reliance upon the information. So unfortunately, we have to do these disclaimers. So now, there we go.
Awesome.
So I need to give this back to you.
So while you're working on this, so fascinating and very grateful. There you go. It was just so good. I wanted to share, you know, when you were sharing the meditation and you said, this is great for kids. Well, under Shape Up Us, and we created the Hip Hop Healthy Heart program for children. It's the first K through 6th grade social, emotional, whole child wellness curriculum. And module 2 is Get Down the Pressure. And we teach how a curriculum on meditation, why sleep is important, and homeopathy. So it's just great for homeschoolers, teachers. So you're right on target working with that whole person. What you discussed today was mostly acute care, which I love, and that's what we wanted to focus on. If you choose to go with a constitutional, maybe Jackie can explain what constitutional is versus acute so they can contact you with more information about that.
Yeah, so constitutional is usually for chronic cases, and we go into a lot of detail. Classical homeopathy usually is a 2-hour intake. So acute care is, you know, quick and dirty type, whereas, you know, constitutional, what we call constitutional homeopathic intake, we look at all the different systems of the body. We're looking at key areas that you want to focus on, mind and body connection and what we try and do. The lovely thing about homeopathy is we see illness as a progression of the same disease. So it might start out as a certain system like upper respiratory, and then it might move to joints, and it might move to, so as the disease progresses and it's not being addressed properly, different systems start to be affected. So we see this as a whole disease, not parsed out, you know, here's your GI doctor and there's your, I don't know, hormone doctor and so on. It's elegantly all encompassed in the one remedy. So the remedy is hitting you on all these levels. And over time, you know, it's not an overnight process, but over time, using a constitutional homeopathy, it can help to resolve a lot of issues that kind of cascade through the whole body over time, bring you to wholeness and wellness.
And please do that with a practitioner that you feel comfortable with sharing your life with, because I always, it's my deepest, darkest, dirty secrets, which none of us have. And we take you from where this all started to now, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's so fascinating. So I'm so grateful for you sharing this, and the acutes. And those, again, I call what you should have in your toolbox and carry around when you travel. My friends always call me, you know, I'm going out of the country, Jill, what should I have? You know, and that's what Jackie just shared with you, some of those remedies. Jackie, did you want to add anything else before we let our friends leave?
Yeah, contact me if you need more information. I'm going to be developing some aids for you. So if you want to avail yourself, it will be along some of these lines, and I can give you more details in the future.
Awesome. Well, God bless. Thank you so much. This was a fabulous hour. I always say one of my favorites, but then I say that every one. Thank you for
the opportunity, and it was lovely being able to put this together for you, and love working with you, Jill.
Thank you. Ditto. Right back at you, girlfriend. All right. Thanks for you.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone.